production, that kind of thing. And we've developed and gotten better and better and better at that. But I'm able to go off the next day and photograph men and women on death rows, and how complicated it was to get those people to trust me was one of the true benchmarks in my life, yes, and that enhances my ability to go off and do, I went to Japan. I literally said, I want to do work overseas. This was years ago I made this decision. I want to do the kind of work the old Life magazine photographers and a lot of my heroes who are shooting annual reports around the world. I want to do that kind of work. And nobody was giving me that kind of work. So I said, let me see where's the most difficult place in the world.
No doubt.
To get photographs.
No doubt.
And I said, Japan. Now,
that's so funny.
Yeah, they totally different lifestyle, a different philosophy in life, very closed to Western. I was getting people saying, so I packed up and I started calling clients and I said, do you have branches in Japan? Do you have any holdings there? And I got myself about 3 or 4 clients all at the same time. I call it piggybacking. So I said, you don't have to pay the whole thing. I'm so-and-so's paying me to go over there. Why don't you? So I'd stay over there I used to go every year. For years I did this. And I called it piggybacking. And I would stay over there for a month. And I'd shoot 4 or 5 jobs for everything from Time magazine to Avon to technology magazines to you name it. And so I would go over there and I was learning how to deal with the most alien environment.
That's so funny.
And I used that to enhance my career because now I had photographs to show to people. I can do this kind of work. Send me somewhere. You can trust me. I've been there. Your colleagues screw it up every time they go over, don't they? Yeah, we sent so-and-so and I can do it.
That's huge.
And so that's how I built my business,
That is so funny. We have a parallel tracks. I made the decision back in the 80s to do the same thing in Japan. And Linda and I studied Japanese for about 3 years before we made our first venture so that we could speak the language well enough.
Mm-hmm.
And
oh my God.
So we could go over and negotiate in Japanese on about a kindergarten level. I mean, I could speak the equivalent of a child, but I ended up I made a huge mistake with the press office there speaking Japanese. And once I did, it was expected that I would only speak Japanese and they would not speak English. And that was exhausting. I learned my lesson that day. Henceforth, I would not be prideful, but would throw in a few words. But much of for the same reason, I could go to clients and say, not only can I can shoot and work there under difficult circumstances, but I speak the language well enough to get by and develop rapport and not just have to go on a grin. So that's funny you tell that story because we did exactly the same thing. We'd try to stay there for 4 to 6 weeks and work. And then the economy there collapsed.
Yes.
And we couldn't get anyone to do anything there. It didn't matter what we were piggybacking because they're going, it's dying there for a while. So that was unfortunate, but that's so funny for you to tell that story.
Isn't it? It's
my word.
Incredible comparison.
Oh,
yes.
my word. I now have about a half dozen expressions that still come to mind, but I have to think when it goes beyond, yes, I'd like some iced coffee or.
That's right. Well, the language was, I took courses in language. I hired a guy to come and teach me etiquette and protocol.
Which is huge in Japan.
Huge. that was part of the learning process about, as what I said, learning something that was so alien. I wanted to, and getting pictures out of that environment. I still love Japan. I have a client who's taking me there in April. I just love the environment. Once I had spent so much time there, and you found out what the nuances were, it really, the stuff just unfolded and became, and as I've said, I learned so much about etiquette and protocol there that I was able to utilize in other environments. Every place is different, and you have to go and learn a totally different set of rules whenever you go into. But Japan was one of those where there were so many rules and they were so different that I realized the most important thing was that I didn't know anything and that I had to learn every time I went out.
Absolutely. Yeah, there are a lot of rules, and etiquette is more important than the language. And again, this loops back to earlier conversation that it's not your photographic skills that carry you through.
That's
it's
right.
The ability to develop rapport and to have humility in the face of people just laughing on the side, as they often did.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things that I realized was endearing and actually won me some favor was that in a couple of locations we were working in, I put my size 12 feet into their size 6 slippers. As opposed to just going barefoot, I tried to follow the etiquette on our first trip there.
Yes.
And because I tried so hard, it ended up winning me kind of openings or opportunities because the person who was kind of guiding, working with us on a particular project said, "You really put a lot of effort into following our rules in so many words." And I went, I'm trying
Yes.
so hard. And he was very gracious. And as a result of that, though, He opened doors for us because there was a willingness that he saw that, again, we were willing to make. So that I realized at that point it was that was a huge part of it. However, on successive trips, I took my own slippers so that I could have something that fit me, and I wasn't walking down the hall slipping from one side to the other, dragging gear. So,
to this day, when I travel, I only use loafers. I learned that in Japan. They don't have tie shoes over there because you're slipping in and out. So now it's part of the TSA, this airport security. But I learned that in so many cultures, stepping out of your shoes was such an important fact that the only tie shoes I have anymore are when I go out and run.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, but I took I could come out of my street shoes and have my inside slippers, and which impressed people with, "Oh, so you've got your own." Molto desne.
That's great.
Very good.
Yes,
very
right.
good. So, as we start to wrap up, what do you want to be remembered for?
Well, that brings up a complete paradigm change in my career. Let's put it that way, in my career. Several years ago, I was standing in the middle of my studio, and I think at that time I probably had like 5 people working for me, they were humming along. They were, doing the books, and they were chasing down locations, and they were the whole thing. And I was standing in the middle of the studio, and I go, "Is this all there is?" I guess I was looking for that glamour that is so elusive to us photographers. And I realized that I didn't want to be known for that cover of the 1998 annual report with a computer that I shot on, So I started looking around for projects that I could point my camera where the final photographs would probably have some more than overnight news cover of the newspaper legitimacy to it, that people could look at for long and be my legacy. I wasn't thinking about dying at the time, but what do you want to be known for? And so we started doing that kind of thing. And so we've been doing that steadily since then. And Japan, in a funny kind of way, I guess, was, but we did the Death Row series. We wanted to be able to work for clients that had a little bit more to say with what they were doing. It wasn't necessarily just manufacturing or anything. We wanted clients that were working towards making things. So now like I said, we've been doing. We're working with the unions in Boston, shooting this job of the skyscraper, and they're giving us unprecedented access. And right now we're working on probably the most ambitious project we've ever done, which is called Pan Africa Project. And that takes us every few months to there are 54 countries in Africa, and we're trying to pick them off one at a time, go there, investigate, show what really is going on. The Western press only deals with conflict, pestilence, poverty. That's the only thing. They want that on the cover of their newspaper or their magazines. And so they've made an entire billion, they've discounted it, 1 billion people in Africa who are going every day to raise their kids, going to work, inventing things, starting companies, producing cultures, music, dance, incredible lifestyles, enhancing and preserving entire ways of life that have been in existence for thousands of years. We're there trying to document that part of the inspirational side of Africa, and we're taking it country by country.
Right.
And those are the kinds of things that, as your question asks, what do we want to be sort of known for? What do we want to last after? What do we want to be our legacy? And so Pan Africa is the thing that's really sort of occupying our time right now.
And the images that you've been posting on social media while you're there, and I guess right after you get back, have just been just beautiful. And
thank you.
That's part of what intrigued me to want to have a conversation with you, as I just kept looking at your work. And after so many years in this rodeo, you still keep generating incredible imagery.
Yeah, thank you very much.
And the projects that you're doing are pretty amazing in terms of, it seems like, the impact they're having. So is there someone that you know who's outside of the spotlight but is doing something important that you think the world should know about?
You mean in photography or otherwise?
Anywhere. Somewhere that they're doing impactful work, but they're not getting a light shining on them.
Well, that's a good question. I'm finding a lot of the people of our generation are complaining about the change that has happened in our profession, going from film to digital, from digital to crowdsourcing even. And I'm finding that there are a number of photographers who are working inside and that have adapted a lot of the new technologies and are making incredible. So I'm not pointing at just one person. There are a couple of people whose work I've been, but who are really making some serious inroads and using social media and the technologies of being able to print their own things, being able to generate using crowdsourcing to find the money to do the projects that they want. And I'm finding that people our generation are complaining, the editors are not there, there's no newspapers, there's no magazines, there's no, I used to love shooting film and now it's digital and anybody can do it. And, getting these, a lot of, photojournalism is dead, that kind of thing. Whereas photography and communication are inherent